A big day of football and lots of fallout. We'll get to the Dogs and the Dockers, potentially one of the finest performances in Justin Longmuir's coaching career as Fremantle upset the Bulldogs earlier. Lots to discuss from that game as well. But Joey, with one game left, Gold Coast and Essendon on Wednesday night, how does our ladder look?
Well, it's shaping up, isn't it, now? So we got the weekend that we probably deserved. The Friday night games were classics, and then today, all three games decided by 15 points or less. So that's how it sits as of right now. And what we can say is for the Gold Coast Suns to jump over the Western Bulldogs and to finish in 8th spot, they just need to beat Essendon, obviously. And if it's under 5 goals, around about that margin, they'll finish 8th. If it's anything more than 5 goals, they will finish 7th, and the Hawks will finish 8th. Now, I know it only says 0.8%, but our trusted man, Maxie Lawton, upstairs, has given me the mail, and with the way the percentages are, it'd have to be at least a 5-goal win for the Gold Coast Suns to finish 7th, and we've finally got a settled top 4, and for mine, they are the 4 best teams in it. And a big swing depending on that margin, so there's going to be a lot of fascination in that clash between the Suns and the Bombers. Let's flip the page and have a look at 10th through 18th. Hasn't changed. Sydney winners on Saturday night, Kingy, but they'll head off for their exit meetings and their wacky Wednesdays, lick their wounds from the year and have a holiday, get ready for next season. But Joey, you're going to kick us off tonight, mate, with your first crack. Yeah, my first crack is I think that the Brisbane Lions have proved they are still kings of the jungle. They are still the benchmark of the competition, that if you want to win the 2025 Premiership, you're going to have to go through Brisbane Lions, because they have, it says 3rd on the Premiership ladder, but they are still the team that needs to be beaten to win it, because when you look at the season as an overall, and what they do is they rise to every challenge. So that to win against Hawthorn today has cemented them as winning 8 of their 11 games this year against the top 8 sides. Now, no team has come close to that. Fremantle have a pretty good record, and so did Geelong, but that is easily the best record with a healthy percentage against those top 8 sides in the competition. And when you take a look at just some of the numbers that are stacking up, this is the top 8 v top 8. This is where they rank. Some of the key stats: the points for, points against, contest, the turnover game, and the inside 50 differential. So today you look at it, I mean, even though it was a close game, and we'll get to some moments, Hawks had their chances, it was still 10 more shots on goal, 8 more inside 50s, 8 more clearances, 10 contested possessions. And what I loved about the win today is we know they are still missing some players. So no McInerney, no Neil, no Hipwood, no Berry, but it's that next wave of superstars for Brisbane Lions. They're not going anywhere in a hurry. When you think about the way McCluggage, Bailey, Rayner, Wilmot, Ashcroft and Fletcher played today, they are going to be around the top of the mark for a long time to come. And despite the inaccuracies early, where really they could have almost shot themselves in the foot, 1 goal 9 to start the game, they were too good. And they are primed and ready to go again with a couple of players returning in a couple of weeks' time. Going to be strong players in the free agency space at the end of the year too. Not only the kids in the talent pipeline with Daniel Annabelle, another young star. There's Sam Draper as well, potentially from Essendon, and Oscar Allen news today that he will join the Lions from West Coast, which we'd known for several months now. So it is going to be a mighty top-up. But how did they do it tonight, Joey? Yeah, I was just impressed with some of their ball movement from the back half. We know they are a kicking team and like to spread the field, but today there are times, particularly in the second quarter and third quarter, where they'll be able to move the ball from coast to coast and early in the game. So they had a lot of repeat entries that were costing them with their accuracy, and they were missing. But when they got some of that flow going and they kept Hawthorn on their toes, they were able to get some really good looks. And as we said, they were all involved. Wilmot's game at halfback was brilliant. But they were able to get their stars involved. Fletcher continues to grow, and they were able to really challenge Hawthorn with this style of play. So they were running on top of the ground. It took a while to break Hawthorn's back with the, as I said, the inaccuracy, but I love the way they went about it today, and they've just got modes, the Brisbane Lions, with the way they play, and it was super impressive.
They probe corridor. They continue to probe corridor, and if you fail to defend them, they get through and score, and those high-quality players you're talking about. So they're a constant threat, Joe. I think this is why they're difficult to play against, because as soon as you overload in the corridor, they find the easy targets out wide. They've got take what the game gives them. Such quality and such class.
We saw that man, Cameron Rayner, kick a 60-metre long bomb to help seal it for the Lions. The other midfielder who was outstanding, Kingy, was Hugh McCluggage.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about Hugh, but he just continues to do it. I know they've got some luxuries because they've got 3 or 4 guys that you could potentially look at to tag. You know, the Ashcroft boy, certainly Will's in there lighting it up. Lockie Neal not there today. So you're thinking, OK, do they go after a McCluggage? Do they go after a Bailey? Rayner was quiet early, so didn't demand any serious attention. But this guy just continues to do it. Every time the game needs a lift, that they are desperate for a score, it's McCluggage. He's the one you have to clamp in fourth quarters. go head-to-head as long as you like in, quarters 1, 2, 3 and see how you go as a midfield, but he does it again, 32 disposals, 11 score involvements. He's the perfect player. He really is. He'll be an All-Australian this year and officially recognised as... I'm looking forward to see where he is in your top 50 at the end of the year, because I think he's one of those guys that's chronically overlooked when we talk top 10 players in our competition.
Where you have him?
Well, just in big games, he does it. And I think we've got to weight the big games now. So I think if he's not inside the top 10, you want to have 10 pretty good ones in front of him.
Looks a top 10 player. Signed a big deal too a couple of years ago and has delivered on that, it must be said. There was a controversial moment late. Hawthorn was brave in this game and really were in it up until the last few minutes. But we can see this moment with Carl Amon backing track towards the boundary line and then handballs it over the line. Now the umpire pays the free kick to the Lions. It goes to Brucey Revel. You can see the Hawks are absolutely outraged. Revel kicks the snap, but is this insufficient intent or just a skill error, fellas? Because it looks like Amon was trying to pass to his mate Jack Ginnivan.
Well, for me, it was a skill error. We watched it back and watched it in slow-mo. It looked like it slipped off the knuckle, and we saw as the game unfolded, it started to get a bit more greasy. It was trickier for the players to handle the ball. And I think umpires, this is where there's too much for me, the black and white as opposed to game feel. They were behind, they were trailing, they needed a score. It was a bit casual, so to his own fault, he sort of leant back on it and didn't strike it as well as he would have liked. But that's just a skill error in the game of footy. You can't be paying that insufficient intent in my book. I
don't want one person to say, they even themselves out. They don't even themselves out. They cost you a game of footy when you're trying to finish in the top 4. It has huge implications on games like this. It was 3 points the difference at this stage. He is not trying to waste time. He is not trying to set up behind the ball. They are trying to score.
Trying to win the game.
So the umpires should know that and umpire accordingly. Is he really trying to take it out of bounds? Why would he be trying to take that out of bounds? Why would he be trying to give the Lions a forward 50 stoppage there? I don't understand that. And I think that, we need to just... I know not be too critical of umpiring and a decision here and a decision there, but to say they don't affect and impact games is a nonsense.
What's the noise of affirmation? Does that get paid at the Hawthorn-friendly MCG? I don't think so, but you hear the crowd all go up. We've seen at West Coast have a very favourable free kick ratio and have done for years. The noise of affirmation certainly is a factor, and the Lions fans certainly helped in that occasion. We turn our attention now to the Hawks, Kingy, because they tried to have a plan to avoid the Lions fullback.
Yeah, they did. They did very well against Harris Andrews, particularly early. That you could see what Mitchell had done. OK, we're not going to be beaten by their one-man wall behind the ball. And at half-time, it was working perfectly. Harris has only had the 2 intercept possessions for the day, and they were able to get over the back and really explode and excite. And you thought, hang on, what's happening here? This is tactically brilliant. The small forwards getting on the end of a few and getting into that dangerous space, 70 to 50 from goal. And Marbior, he was on fire for the first quarter. Relatively unsighted after that. They adjusted, they lifted their pressure, the Lions. I thought for the second half, Joey, that Hawthorn were able to get the ball from the inside to the outside, but they still couldn't get through the next layer of pressure, and they gave the ball back to guys like Harris Andrews. But you have to recognise what Hawthorn did that worked so well.
Yeah, they did. That's a plan. If you actually show, people say, you can't necessarily have plans against those interceptors or Max Gawn. You actually can if you go to work on it. You either run at them and kick it over their head, or you change angles like we saw the Hawks do there. But yeah, there were times where they looked really sharp. I thought they were just a bit later in the game, sloppy with their kicks inside 50. They had some really good looks where they had got through and got out, and they just didn't finish their play. So I think Sam Mitchell will be lamenting just some of that last kick inside 50 ball use, because they were getting great opportunities.
To beat Brisbane in September, you have to conquer Harris Andrews. That tactical battle that you just outlined, Kingy, that is the key focus, I would have thought, for their opposition over the next 4 weeks. So that will be very interesting to watch. Righto, David, what's your first crack?
Well, mine's just a simple one. We'll get into the games, and particularly this afternoon at Marvel in a moment, but I just want to talk about the value of a home final in September. What's the worth of it the last few years? I mean, post-COVID is where I'm looking the last 3 years. So what does it do in terms of your win-loss rate? So we're taking out the games that are neutral venue, so the MCG games for the 2 Victorian-based teams, we've taken those out. That's pretty obvious. So it's almost a 70% win rate if you're playing at home, if you're hosting a travelling team. And that number probably shocks me a little bit. I thought it might have even been higher than that, Joey. Yeah, but we've had quite a few teams have been able to do it on the road. I know you're talking about Brisbane, they're still the team to beat, but those numbers suggest that they've got to come down to the MCG. They've still got to beat Geelong, who have had a pretty uninterrupted run, and we'll get to them later on. But 7 out of 10 are won by the team hosting a travelling team. So it is always harder, as you know. It's an obvious thing to say. There's been a few teams been able to do it. GWS been able to do it in the 23 campaign particularly. Geelong and Brisbane have done it last year. Sydney and Brisbane a few years ago now. So it's a big step. It's a big step to qualify inside the top 2, and then obviously the wraparound games from there.
Well, Collingwood so close on the road a week ago, but the MCG will hold no fears for the Lions. Clearly, Hawthorn will back themselves against Kingy Stadium. So those first 3 in particular, I think are absolute crackers. I'm with you, King. I thought that percentage would be higher as well.